And if in fact you do have recurrences, then the damage could be more lasting because the measures have to be in place for longer. So this is the big unknown. How long will it take to get it under control? How much GDP will be lost in the process? And how much can be recovered when the measures are taken off? So
How
that
about
the
extending
markets.
those estimates to the Indian context, because we don't know what the full extent of the coronavirus will be in India? Is it possible to get some sense of how badly hurt the economy will be? Because what we do know is that there is a complete shock to the economy at this moment. Mass factories being shut down, very few people being employed, lots of layoffs, people trying to go back to their villages. How will this translate into numbers, Dr. Rajan?
Well, I think at this point, nobody knows. The key, however, is to make sure that a temporary shock doesn't become a more permanent shock. In other words, that we don't see a downturn, slow cash flows, slow revenues, no incomes for workers. And that leads to substantial layoffs, that leads to firms closing down. And when we do get the coronavirus under control, there's much less economic activity because those businesses don't start again. So we need bridges between now and then for the most vulnerable households in India, of course, for the poor, for the migrants. We need ways to get money to them. So over this period of shutdown, they can keep body and soul together. But we also need to keep firms, the small and medium firms which have suffered shock after shock, we need to keep them from closing down if they're viable. And that decision is a careful one because we can't keep every firm alive given that we have limited resources, but we should keep the viable ones alive so that they can reopen. And similarly for the large firms. So this is a really careful process that has to be gone through over the next few months.
There is a big debate raging in India and globally about whether this is the right opportunity to extend some kind of a universal basic income. In the Indian context, government revenue is already deeply overstretched and you need extra revenues to be able to take care of healthcare facilities. However, you have to also deal with all these people who don't have any money coming into their banks and their pockets. Do you believe that the government in India should seriously be considering some form of income support at this time, Dr. Rajan?
Temporary income support as targeted as possible makes sense. But beyond that, we don't have the money. I think at this point, as you said, we need to prioritize. First off, we need to spend the money on medical facilities, on ventilators, on masks, on getting protective equipment for our brave doctors and nurses so that they can do the job. And that means bringing every resource in, whether it's private, public, defense, retired, get everybody in on the act and quickly create quarantine spaces. We simply need to keep those who are infected separate from each other. All this will require fiscal resources, and this is the highest priority. After this comes getting money to the households that are affected, whether in rural areas or urban areas. We do have means of getting it across to the rural areas much better. Urban areas, identifying the poorer households and getting money to them is going to be more difficult, but we need to do it. And then only after that do we need to think about other measures. But no long-term measures at this point. Let's fix the problem first and then move ahead. Measures to cut taxes in the long term or to universal basic income in the long term. This is not the time to discuss that.
Oh, you're saying this is not the time to be discussing universal basic income. Leave that for a later date because there have been many calls. We've seen in the United States, the government announce some kind of relief measures. What Justin Trudeau did in Canada came in for much appreciation. You're taking a completely contrarian position. You're saying deal with the crisis first. This is not the time to try and roll out something big and ambitious.
Not really. What I'm saying is targeted income transfers for a couple of months till we get over this. Hopefully, it's only a couple of months rather than many quarters. I think that makes sense. Relief to affected households, relief to the poor households, that makes sense. But universal basic income means paying these households forever. We don't have the resources or the time for doing that right now. Let's not talk about it. Let's talk about relief measures. That's what we need to be talking about.
One of the things we've also seen after the coronavirus breakout is global supply chains being upended much more than earlier. What are the lessons do you believe Indian manufacturing, Indian government and the Indian economy need to draw? Because at this time, there are several critical resources we need to import from companies like China and some in Europe, and suddenly they're saying this is no longer available to India. What are the lessons we need to draw, and what can we do in the immediate context, Dr. Rajan?
In the immediate context, we have to just find wherever we can the necessary supplies, and to the extent they are elsewhere, we have to cajole, push, and this is a central government activity because state governments cannot do that. So we need the supplies wherever we can find it, and we can be assured that every country is trying to do this at this point. So we need to work as hard as we can and bring whatever pressures we can to bear on that. But beyond that, of course, it raises the question, do we have self-sufficiency in critical resources? And there is a value to thinking about that. But that's a medium-term issue. Do we have all the medical supplies we need, et cetera, et cetera? That's a medium-term issue. Short-term, we need to beat around the bush everywhere in the world to see where there are spares. China may have some, given that it's actually controlled the virus, and maybe that's where we look right now.
What can central banks do in this context? There's one big demand that central banks should reduce interest rates and do that without waiting for the next monetary policy to come out. The other is, even if they did, given how risk capacity and investment capacity is completely gone for a knock, no matter what central banks do, it won't make any difference. What's your view, sir? How should the Reserve Bank of India be trying to intervene given all the dynamic at play?
Well, I don't want to give advice to the Reserve Bank. They know what to do. Let me just say this, that again and again, we're coming up against the fact that we have a financial system which is impaired. And of course, I've been saying for quite some time, we need to clean it up so it can function as necessary. And we see the problems right now when it, as you said, may not be able to offer the credit support that is needed to businesses. Well, unfortunately, given that it's not providing that support, we have to try and do what we can from the government side to offer partial guarantees to make sure that banks continue lending to small and medium enterprises and to large businesses. But again, here we have to be careful that we have limited fiscal space. So there has to be some incentive for the banks also to take credit risk into account. We can't just write them a blank check. This has to be done very carefully, very cleverly. And obviously, as you say, it is harder when the banking system is impaired. But at this point, I would say take a cue from the central banks across the world, which are contributing to solving the problem by easing liquidity. Liquidity should not be a constraint, but also helping in credit. That is something we have to think about carefully since we already have large NPAs, but certainly some help is warranted.
You know, Yuval Noah Harari, one of the world's leading historians, said the COVID-19 will ensure that the world as we know it changes forever. We spoke to Ruchir Sharma. He said that this could lead to a depression as serious as the depression of the 1930s. Do you believe that the world as we know it is going to change forever? In what way, Dr. Rajan, do you believe that COVID-19 will change everything that we know once this danger subsides?
Well, I want to say it's a little early to try and predict which directions it will change. Of course, it's a huge, unprecedented event. Think about what you just said. It could lead to countries being much more wary about having supply chains across borders because they know they can't rely on them in bad times. That could be one outcome. But the other outcome is it could bring the world together, knowing that we have to deal with such huge global challenges may make us more aware of the need to deal with climate change. So it could move in any which way. We have to see how it works out. But of course, what matters is how long it lasts. And that's where the difference between a recession, which is almost surely on the cards now, versus a depression. If it lasts for a long time, we have significant subsequent waves after first suppressing it, then we may be heading for something deeper and more longer lasting. But if we can control this within a few months, then perhaps we have a recession and perhaps a rebound over time after that. and then it's not so bad. But certainly we'll learn the lessons from it, and we'll do things differently in the future.
Are there any policy interventions you'd like to see from the government in India? One, of course, you spoke about, ensuring that there's some kind of income support that comes in. But outside of that, what can government do in a policy framework context to ensure that they try and alleviate the pain that people will have to feel and try and use the capacities that corporate India has to make the most of what is available?
Well, absolutely. I think it is bringing all the resources together and directing them at the places that need them the most. So we need to find out where are the masks, where are the ventilators, where is the spare hospital capacity, where are the unnecessary operations being performed to shut them down and make hospitals available for coronavirus victims. These are all things that certainly the central government can organize. But I also think there are two very important things the government needs to do. One is communicate very clearly that this is a national emergency. Just because you don't have it today doesn't mean you won't have it tomorrow. And that even for young people, they are responsible for spreading it, even if they're not terribly badly affected. And so get everybody to start paying attention to hygiene, to washing, to isolation. That is something that the government, especially with our Prime Minister, who's a great communicator, has the ability to do. That has to go on in a big way. And these parties with, many people coming together, which, till a week ago seemed to be really prevalent, those have to stop. So that's one. Get serious about the problem. Second, accumulate knowledge about where the resources are. But most important, get the data out on where the infections are, where the deaths are, so that interventions can actually happen. So we need mass-scale testing, of course, but beyond that, we need to make sure the data are out there for everybody to see, to learn from, and so that local governments, state governments, and national government can intervene. Without data, you're trying to fight this disease blind, and that is terrible.
I'll leave it over there. At a time when there are so many variables and unknowns in the scenario that we are facing, it's always interesting to have somebody like Raghuram Rajan try and put this in context as best as is possible. But he said, till the time you don't know where the problem ends, you can't estimate the full extent to which this will damage the Indian and the global GDP. But a 10% contraction in GDP in the next quarter is what he thinks at least countries like China and Europe are looking at. I'll leave it over there. Dr. Raghuram Rajan for joining us from the Chicago Booth School of Business. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. I want to now take you through some of the other big headlines that are making the news at this moment globally. Here is the big global update on the coronavirus. Deaths from the corona pandemic have now topped 15,000 across the world. A total of 15,189 deaths have been recorded, the majority in Europe, with 9,179 fatalities. More than 1 billion people have been asked to stay at home in more than 50 countries across the world as governments battle the coronavirus pandemic that's currently sweeping the world. The United States has seen a significant spike in coronavirus cases, with the total number of confirmed infections now jumping to nearly 34,000, while over 400 fatalities have been recorded. This even as 1 in 3 Americans has been told to stay home. The coronavirus death toll in Spain surged to 2,182 after 462 people died in the past 24 hours, with the number of confirmed cases of COVID-19 rising to 33,089. After Italy, Spain is the worst affected country in Europe. The coronavirus shadow now hangs over the world's biggest sporting event, a day after the International Olympic Committee said it will study various operational plans. Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe said postponing the Olympics may soon become inevitable. In many ways, the United States and New York in particular is the emerging epicenter of the corona pandemic. I want to go across to Panvi Mittal. She joins us live tonight from New York. Panvi, give us a sense of how bad the situation is. I was reading a moment before now, officials in the United States saying there are certain places like New York and California where essential medical supplies could run out in 10 days. What are you seeing around you, Panvi?
Yes, the mayor himself has made a plea saying that we need supplies here, and these are lives that can be saved, which may not be because of a medical crisis that the city may be facing. Just to give you a sense of the numbers, New York State, which includes New York City, has more than 15,000 cases. And New York City is where you have a maximum of those cases. That is more than 10,000 people here have been tested positive for COVID-19. The governor of the state has asked people to maintain social distancing. But, today I went out. It's cold today. It's raining. We're expecting snow. So there are a few people outside. But if you went over the weekend, and especially Friday, when the temperature had hit 20 degrees Celsius, and it's springtime now, it felt like there was nothing wrong. There were people outside. There were a lot of people who were not maintaining social distancing. People were playing basketball. So you have a city where you have a lot of people who are staying indoors, but there is a problem with maintaining social distancing here.
Okay, and that's the kind of problem we're facing in India as well, because people think, hey, the weather is great, let's go out for a walk, we're home, we don't have to work, this is a good time to be out and about. It is not. Stay home, stay safe. That's the big message. Manvi Mittal for reporting tonight from New York. Thank you very much. We've got breaking news coming in that the government has issued orders that you will henceforth need curfew passes to go out in the national capital. So if you're in Delhi, you want to go out, this could get implemented in other places as well. It seems inevitable because people aren't following the orders that have been put out. You will now need curfew passes. If you're in an essential service, you will need a curfew pass. I'll tell you more about this story when I come back on the other side of a very quick break. You're watching the News Truck.
और वो सिर्फ इसलिए क्योंकि हम करते हैं हर एग्जिट पोल पूरी ईमानदारी से। जिस सैंपल साइज को हम बड़े सैंपल साइज को लेते हैं, उससे उसके मन को भांपते हैं और फिर उससे पूछते हैं कि वो किस तरफ जा रहा है। और फिर जब सारा डेटा इकट्ठा हो जाता है, उसको सही तरह से एनालाइज करके आपके सामने आते हैं आंकड़े, और वो आंकड़े फिर आज तक की बादशाहत कायम करते हैं। आज तक मतलब एग्जैक्ट पोल। तमाम खबरों को देखने के लिए, पढ़ने के लिए आज तक.in पर जरूर जाएं। और हां, इन तमाम खबरों के लिए अब आप आज तक के ऐप को भी डाउनलोड कर सकते हैं, iOS और एंड्रॉइड दोनों पर।
डाउनलोड करें आज तक मोबाइल ऐप।
आज तक के साथ लगातार जुड़े रहने के लिए डाउनलोड कर लीजिए आज तक का मोबाइल ऐप, और उसके बाद दिन भर की हर खबर से मेरे साथ रहिए खबरदार।
डाउनलोड करें आज तक मोबाइल ऐप। All new India Today mobile app. Now get quick and short news flashes. Watch 4 TV news channels live in just a swipe. Read stories without data connection. And also read exclusive India Today magazine stories and interviews. Personalize your news feed and notifications. Watch a news bulletin of your favorite journalist anytime, anywhere. Now experience more lighter and faster. India Today mobile app from India's #1 news video publisher.
एग्जिट पोल मतलब एग्जैक्ट पोल, सिर्फ आज तक पर। और ये एक दो बार नहीं, लगातार आज तक अपने दर्शकों के सामने रख रहा है ग्राउंड जीरो पर की गई हमारी रिपोर्टिंग, यानी कि आज तक की रिपोर्टिंग, जिसके जरिए लोगों का मूड हम भांपते हैं और वो पहुंचाते हैं आप तक। यही कारण है कि पिछले 5 बार से लगातार आज तक का एग्जिट पोल सही साबित हो रहा है। एग्जैक्ट पोल मतलब सिर्फ आज तक।
एग्जिट पोल या एग्जैक्ट पोल, भाई अब तो लोग एग्जैक्ट पोल ही कहते हैं ना इसको। आज तक के एग्जिट पोल देखने के बाद अब लोग एग्जिट पोल का शब्द अपनी डिक्शनरी से निकाल रहे हैं। पिछले 5 एग्जिट पोल जिनको आप कहते हैं, उठा के देखिए ना, आपको मालूम पड़ जाएगा। गिनती से पहले ही आज तक बता देता है कि चुनाव का नतीजा क्या होने वाला है, और एकदम सटीक बता देता है, क्योंकि आज तक इस देश की जनता की नब्ज पहचानता है। इसीलिए तो 20 साल से आज तक इस देश का सर्वश्रेष्ठ न्यूज चैनल है आज तक मतलब एग्जैक्ट पोल।
If it's India today, exit poll is exact poll, and that comes from years of experience. Credible news channel, credible reportage. We report what we see, the best analysis and the best number crunching, and thus India today exit poll is the exact poll. Exact poll means India today.
Do you know of any organization that has delivered 5 polls back to back which have been bang on numbers? We have done so. We have earned the tag of being the gold standard in exact polls. And what we also do, we corroborate the numbers that we put forth in our exact poll with credible ground reports for you to get the true picture, for you to know we are the only channel you can trust. If it's India Today, it's not exit poll, it is exact poll.
Forget about exit polls. It's now called exact poll, India Today style. The one word that best describes India Today's election coverage is credibility. Ground reporting, analysis, and of course the poll. That's why we tend to get it right. Exact poll means India Today.
There's a very good reason why we here at India Today are calling it an exact poll and not an exit poll. Everybody else is wondering about how do we get it right over and over again, not once, not twice, but repeatedly across elections, across states. It involves approaching political election forecasting without any predetermined political biases, without any inclinations to one.
We've just received information on the news track that the death toll in India has now gone up by one. One more person has passed away, this time in Himachal Pradesh. Manjeet Saigal is joining us. He tracks Himachal Pradesh for us. He'll tell us more about this. Manjeet, what do we know about the travel history of this person? Did he come in from somewhere, or is this a case of community transmission? Okay. So the latest piece of information coming in that the death toll has now gone up to 10. One more person has fallen prey to the coronavirus, this time from Himachal Pradesh. I have over here a breakdown of the various states and we can also compare where the crisis is in India at this time. If you look at it, the yellow graph is the line of confirmed cases in India. The blue graph shows the recovered cases and the red graph shows the number of deaths. The number of deaths mercifully very low, but if you can see the speed at which the yellow graph is growing, that is what we need to be most careful about. Manjeet Saigal joins us. He's telling us more about the latest case of a person succumbing to the coronavirus. Manjeet, what details do you have about the travel history of this person?
So this 69-year-old Tibetan refugee had gone to US and returned to Delhi on 15th of March, and on 21st of March he went to McLeodganj. He hired a taxi and he was taken to the hospital on Monday morning, where he tested positive for the coronavirus, and he died today evening, sir. So this is the first death reported from Himachal Pradesh, sir. There were only 2 cases which were reported from Kangra district. Himachal Pradesh has now announced a lockdown in all 12 districts after these cases were reported. However, no positive case has been reported besides these cases, sir.
This is the first case of a death in Himachal Pradesh. Manjeet will track this more extensively for us in the midst of all of this. We've also received a big piece of information which says that from tomorrow in the national capital, and this could potentially become a template in other places as well, you will need a curfew pass to go out. If you're from an essential service, you'll have to go to the police, get a curfew pass. Only then will you be allowed to venture out of your home. Milan Sharma joins us. Now, where does one go? If I'm watching this broadcast, I'm wondering, where do I need to go to get a curfew pass? Who will give it to me? How will I prove that I'm an essential service? How will all of this play out? What's the government thinking when they make this announcement? Milan Sharma.
Well, Rahul, since the Delhi police is sealing all border pickets, what they are telling people is that those involved with essential services in the national capital need to have curfew passes from the office of the DCP. So the district police in all the districts of Delhi and outside will be able to issue these curfew passes. So at this point of time, Delhi police has said that if I need to go to Gurgaon, I need to go to the southwest district police officials. If I need to go to Faridabad, then I need to collect a pass from the southeast district for Ghaziabad, from Shahadra. If I need a pass from Noida, then I need to go to the east district police station. For Sonipat, I need to go to the outer north district police station. And for Jajjar, I need to go to the outer district. So this is a statement that has been issued by the Delhi police because they are sealing the neighboring borders across Delhi. Now, there are a lot of questions that people have started posing. For instance, if anybody is providing an internet service, does he come under the list of essential services? If someone is working in a BPO, for instance, or a KPO, does that person come under the list of essential services? Also, how many employees from one organization will be issued these passes, and when can they collect them? Should they collect them physically, or letters will be sent out? So these are the questions that the police needs to answer.
Sure,
but
remember, in a country like India, trying to implement a curfew pass is going to be a very complicated exercise. So you'll have to brace up for some logistical hassles. This will not be easy. And remember, the fight against coronavirus is not easy at all, which is why we're saying stay home, stay safe. If you can find a way to stay home and do what you need to, that's the best thing. If you are completely, the media is an essential service, which is why we're out here trying to collate all the authentic information, credible information for you, so that WhatsApp University is not in overdrive and people aren't going crazy with all kinds of false news and fake news. Okay, I want to come back once again to the big stock market story, because this is where, especially after the crash in real estate, a lot of people moved their money online into the stock markets, and for a long while it was felt that here is a reasonably safe avenue because people were getting assured high quality returns, and suddenly we're seeing complete mayhem in the markets. Radhika Gupta joins me. She runs Edelweiss. Abhay joins me. He is with Motilal Oswal. So welcome to both of you. I want to go across Radhika first. Radhika, people who are watching and those who don't track the stock markets as closely as the people you ordinarily would be speaking to are petrified. They're wondering, as they see this crash every morning going up till the afternoon, where do you think this is going to end?
So I think, of course, these are unprecedented times for the stock market. These are unprecedented times for the world itself. I just want to tell people who've invested in the stock market for the first time that what you're seeing is difficult, but it's also something that we've seen before. I recall starting my career in 2008, and Rahul, shortly after that, markets were down 50%. They were down 20-30% in 2011. So what you're seeing is definitely difficult economic times, difficult. We are fighting a pandemic globally. But remember, this is not the first time markets have fallen. And it is very difficult to say when we will come out of it. It is very difficult for the average investor to jump in and see his portfolio down 30% this month, which it is. But the worst thing an investor can do at this point, honestly, is panic and press the panic button. And my one advice to all investors would be just don't go out and do that.
Somaya, I was reading that we haven't seen mass redemptions. With the market taking the kind of hit that it is, I would have ordinarily imagined that small retail investors would panic and start ending their SIPs, start pressing the panic button, calling for redemptions. That somehow on a large scale isn't happening. Are you of the view that people are now more mature, they've seen stock market cycles and therefore they think they can ride this out? Why is it that we're seeing foreign portfolio investors pull their money out, but at the retail level, do you think people are reasonably calm at this moment?
The beauty about the Indian market and our demography is that every 5 years, every 10 years, there's a new cohort of youngsters who's entering the work stream and hence entering the investor stream itself. And I can say, like Radhika mentioned, we've seen this in the early 2000s, we've seen this in 2008, and I'm seeing it now again in 2020. And this time there's a marked difference in the way investors are handling this whole situation. In fact, more often than not, I get queries. Definitely existing investors are concerned, but at the same time, I get equal number of queries from investors, as in, is this the bottom and should we kind of try to invest again. There's a marked difference in the behavior of investors, what it used to be 10 years, 20 years back versus what it is now. And it is especially remarkable considering, Rahul, that it's not only March 2020 that we are speaking about. In fact, you leave aside a few large caps. The fact is that right from 2018 January, 2018 was not a great year. 2019 was not a great year. And now this is maybe more than 2 years where we are seeing the market going nowhere. And on back of it now in the month of March, there is a sharp decline. And we are still seeing investors consistently investing. So yes, there is a process of maturing. And my sense is that Indian investors' holding of Indian equities is going to be rising. And I think there's nothing bad about it. I mean, it's a good thing to happen.
Radhika, there have been demands in India and elsewhere, shut the markets down. Till the mayhem continues, till you can get a grip on where this crisis ends. Don't just wake up every morning and see the market tank by about 2,500. Is this just, vitriol? Is this just panic reactions? Or do you believe if there can be a concerted global movement from the Nikkei, from the New York Stock Exchange, all markets coming together and saying, okay, till we get a grip on this, let's try and shut the stock markets down? Is that at all conceivable? Does that make sense?
There are two parts to this. As markets professionals, Rahul, we are also essential services. And, till the markets are open, many people do come to work. It's not only the portfolio cost, it's the human cost of having so many people come to work. But I was just checking through the history of everything that the world has gone through. And, we've seen world wars, we've seen World War I, we've seen World War II. You don't have periods globally where the markets are shut down for extended periods. It could happen around 9/11 or 26/11 for 1 or 2 days, but it does not happen for extended periods. Also do realize that it's not just the Indian market. Indian markets today are very well connected and all global markets are interlinked. So we are linked to what happens in the US and we're linked to what happens in the UK. So you really can't shut markets down. In fact, about a week or two ago, Philippines attempted to shut the market down and they realized after 2 days of chaos that it probably wasn't the wisest idea. And then they went back to reopening markets. It's very nice to say markets will shut down and I won't see that 30% lead on my portfolio. But remember, if markets shut down, for instance, mutual funds like the one Ashish and I run will not be able to give you your money back on a daily basis. So we take for granted that markets are open sometimes, but with markets remaining open, a lot of other essential things happen. So in my view, despite the fact that many of us do have to come to work every day, and it is painful to see portfolios just because of the global linkages and because of the past precedent, it is hard and probably not a great idea to go shut markets down.
The other thing, Ashish, Somaya, that a lot of people are toying with is that, okay, I missed the rally on the way up to 40,000. Is this a good time for me to come in? But you don't know where the pit ends. So what's the suggestion that you have to people who are watching, getting slightly twitchy and possibly adventurous and saying, is this a good time to venture in?
Oh, there's no way to call the bottom. There's no way to call the bottom. I can assure you that any price that you get in from that level, the market has its own way of irritating you and getting you 5%, 7% lower than that. I think that if you are somebody who is holding liquidity, then maybe in the next 2 to 3 months, you should try to get deployed fully. Let me also tell you that what is happening right now, I don't mean to make light of this situation, but let me tell you one thing. Whether the virus is being fought effectively or not, I think that is something which everybody can debate. But in the background, the US government, the US Fed, and all governments, whether it's Europe or any of the markets, they are very, very well prepared this time to handle the economic fallout of the virus. I mean, some people may criticize that they are so focused on the economy that they are preparing to handle that part more than trying to handle the health hazard. Because if you remember in 2008 when the financial crisis happened, it took Europe almost 9 months to come with quantitative easing. It took US another 3-4 months or 6 months to get out of the political quagmire and get through with their easing in the economy. But this time around, even as they fight the virus, they've already started fighting the economic fallout. So let me tell you, I don't mean to make light of the situation, but the day there is a sense that the rate at which the virus is spreading is kind of coming under control, there is a good chance that the stock market might I'm not talking about the economy, I'm only talking about the market reaction. There is a good chance that the market might actually, find its feet very swiftly, actually.
Just one very quick final question. Did either of you preempt this with all the sophisticated tools and modeling that you do? Were you able to pull out your money and your clients' money in time, or like everyone else watching, you've been bleeding as well? Radhika, 30 seconds.
Our funds are equity funds, and our mandate is to invest 100% in the stock market, and we do that in the funds. There are other funds where we invest partially in the markets, and I think there we've done reasonably well. But for equity funds, our job is to invest in the markets, and that's what we've done, and we'll continue to do it to the best of our ability.
I will say no, I didn't know this was going to happen,
okay,
but I'll also tell everybody watching us that there is a high chance that you will invest a lot more in the future than what you have invested in the past. So don't worry about prices coming down right now. It's a good opportunity.
But that's very reassuring. If two of the sharpest whizzes on the markets thing that they tanked as well, just as everyone else did, that's good. So everyone's in this together. You sail together, you sing together. Radhika and Ashish for joining me on the News Track tonight. Thank you very much. I want to show you now how people are dealing with isolation, social distancing. What is it that they've been doing, trying to keep them busy, maybe give you some ideas. Take a look at this.
How to practice social distancing in the times of coronavirus? Former cricketer Virendra Sehwag has the answer. The cricketer shared this unique method of social distancing while travelling in public transport like metros, leaving netizens in splits. With Spain under complete lockdown, police officers in the country have taken it upon themselves to spread some cheer. In the new viral video clip, which has been viewed almost 7 million times, the cops can be seen singing and dancing with people cheering them from their homes. Millions across the world are indulging in panic buying, resulting in the humble toilet paper roll suddenly becoming one of the most sought-after commodity. And even as the rolls become hard to get, people at a UK pub were recently seen using them for a poker game, leaving many in splits. Lockdowns and quarantines have presented dog owners with unique challenges: how to walk their dogs. And this Cyprus resident has the perfect solution. Vakis shared a video of his dog Oliver being walked via a drone, getting praise from across the world. The video shows the leash of the dog attached to a drone, which also films the journey. Genius, we call it. To spread awareness about the pandemic, a Hindustani classical singer has come up with an interesting way to educate the masses. Pune's Sandeep Ranade's piece urging people to stay indoors is now going viral on social media. Listening.
Remember, some of the greatest plays, some of the best music, some of the biggest inventions happened during past epidemics. I really wonder where all that creativity will find an outlet. This is where I wrap up the News Track tonight. I'll see you again at 8 p.m. tomorrow evening. My message at the end is the same as the message at the start. Don't be a COVID-idiot. Stay at home. Take the lockdown very seriously. We live together, we die together. Don't try and find a reason why you need to be out. Try and find a reason why you can be in. Because if we can ride out the next few days, a lot of us will have a chance of survival. If everybody's foolhardy, we're all sinking and sinking fast. Thank you for tuning in. See you tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Goodbye. Rajdeep Sardesai.
हो जाता है, उसको सही तरह से एनालाइज करके आपके सामने आते हैं आंकड़े, और वो आंकड़े फिर आज तक की बादशाहत कायम करते हैं। आज तक मतलब एग्जैक्ट पोल। तमाम खबरों को देखने के लिए, पढ़ने के लिए आज तक.in पर जरूर जाएं। और हां, इन तमाम खबरों के लिए अब आप आज तक के ऐप को भी डाउनलोड कर सकते हैं iOS और एंड्रॉइड दोनों पर।
डाउनलोड करें आज तक मोबाइल ऐप।
आज तक के साथ लगातार जुड़े रहने के लिए डाउनलोड कर लीजिए आज तक का मोबाइल ऐप और उसके बाद दिन भर की हर खबर से मेरे साथ रहिए खबरदार।
डाउनलोड करें आज तक मोबाइल ऐप। All new India Today mobile app. Now get quick and short news flashes. Watch 4 TV news channels live in just a swipe. Read stories without data connection and also read exclusive India Today magazine stories and interviews. Personalize your news feed and notifications. Watch a news bulletin of your favorite journalist anytime, anywhere. Now experience more lighter and faster. India Today mobile app from India's #1 news video publisher.
एग्जिट पोल मतलब एग्जैक्ट पोल सिर्फ आज तक पर, और ये एक दो बार नहीं, लगातार आज तक अपने दर्शकों के सामने रख रहा है ग्राउंड जीरो पर की गई हमारी रिपोर्टिंग, यानी कि आज तक की रिपोर्टिंग, जिसके जरिए लोगों का मूड हम भांपते हैं और वो पहुंचाते हैं आप तक। यही कारण है कि पिछले 5 बार से लगातार आज तक का एग्जिट पोल सही साबित हो रहा है। एग्जैक्ट पोल मतलब सिर्फ आज तक।
एग्जिट पोल या एग्जैक्ट पोल, भाई अब तो लोग एग्जैक्ट पोल ही कहते हैं ना इसको। आज तक के एग्जिट पोल देखने के बाद अब लोग एग्जिट पोल का शब्द अपनी डिक्शनरी से निकाल रहे हैं। पिछले 5 एग्जिट पोल जिनको आप कहते हैं उठा के देखिए ना, आपको मालूम पड़ जाएगा। गिनती से पहले ही आज तक बता देता है कि चुनाव का नतीजा क्या होने वाला है, और एकदम सटीक बता देता है, क्योंकि आज तक इस देश की जनता की नब्ज पहचानता है। इसीलिए तो 20 साल से आज तक इस देश का सर्वश्रेष्ठ न्यूज चैनल है आज तक, मतलब एग्जैक्ट पोल।
If it's India today, exit poll is exact poll. And that comes from years of experience. Credible news channel, credible reportage. We report what we see. The best analysis and the best number crunching. And thus, India today, exit poll is the exact poll. Exact poll means India today.
Do you know of any organization that has delivered 5 polls back to back which have been bang on numbers? We have done so. We have earned the tag of being the gold standard in exact polls. And what we also do, we corroborate the numbers that we put forth in our exact poll with credible ground reports for you to get the true picture, for you to know we are the only channel you can trust. If it's India Today, it's not exit poll, it is exact poll.
Forget about exit polls. It's now called exact poll India Today style. The one word that best describes India Today's election coverage is credibility. Ground reporting, analysis, and of course the poll. That's why we tend to get it right. Exact poll means India Today.
There's a very good reason why we here at India Today are calling it an exact poll and not an exit poll. Everybody else is wondering about how do we get it right over and over again, not once, not twice, but repeatedly across elections, across states. It involves approaching political election forecasting without any predetermined political biases, without any inclinations to one side or the other. And that's one of the reasons why, when there are no biases involved, you get an exact poll. Exact poll equals to India Today.
Fight Corona. India Today with India Today.
इंडिया टुडे मीडिया इंस्टीट्यूट आपको दे रहा है मौका देश के नंबर 1 न्यूज चैनल के साथ पत्रकारिता के गुर सीखने का। रजिस्टर करने के लिए 9560065465 पर कॉल करें। इंडिया टुडे मीडिया इंस्टीट्यूट आपको दे रहा है मौका देश के सर्वश्रेष्ठ मीडिया समूह के साथ डिजिटल मीडिया और कम्युनिकेशन में डिप्लोमा करने का।
रजिस्टर करने के लिए 9560065466।
Presented by All New Creta, the ultimate SUV. Co-presented by Star Health Insurance, the health insurance specialist. Co-presented by Sensodyne, clinically proven relief from tooth sensitivity. Co-presented by Century Ply, Sab Sahe Mast Rahe. Special partner Aditya Birla Capital, protecting, investing, financing, advising. In association with Orient I-Series fans. eBix Cash, हर खुशी के लिए काफी है।